But then, oh my God, Brian, this is why you should have watched the program. Every once in a while, it's must-see TV just for an update on our favorite popular group in wrestling. We've been following for a couple weeks since the Hindenburg crashed, the exploits of Flop Dollar and his group Skid Row, along with B-Fab and Adonis. Have you heard what's gone on now?
No.
Apparently, and I don't know whether Flop Dollar knows it or not, but apparently the office or creative, whoever, saw the feedback that he got when he tried to defend himself from that Fosbury flop over the top rope dive a couple weeks ago. They've turned him heel.
Get out of here.
They've turned him fucking because he
That's the only thing you could have done.
He was such a, petulant child. Well, here's a video of me in a barn doing it, and I cleared it, and I was 50 pounds heavier, and then he lands on his head or whatever. It was a Royal Rumble qualifying match. Ricochet versus Flop Dollar. And apparently, previously, for the previous week, whatever the fuck that we might have missed in a backstage thing, old Flop disrespected Ricochet. Because he feels disrespect because the boys, apparently the story is a bunch of the boys in the locker room were making fun of Flop Dollar for flopping his dive, right? And that included Ricochet said something, so now there's some issue here, right? And by the way, they announced Ricochet. You remember Ricochet, right? You can get a mental picture in your mind of Ricochet.
Yeah, of course.
Guess what weight they announced him at?
What they announced him at?
Yes.
You're saying it like it's a different weight than they used to announce him at?
Well, remember when I've always said if you got a guy that's so small he can fucking fit through a fucking keyhole without greasing himself up, it maybe put an extra 15 or 20 pounds on. Nobody's going to know, but it might make it a little more palatable, just subliminally, whatever.
215.
207. I would think he'd have to have rocks in his pockets and fucking and a beanbag on top of his head to hit 185, but they announced him at 207, so somebody's listening. Anyway, they actually gave Skid Row their entrance in the break, if that tells you anything else also. I talked about the Hindenburg. This may be more in line with another disaster, the Titanic, because they're bailing away from this fucking sinking ship. So they ring the bell on this match. You got Ricochet, who's 5'6" and of a disputed weight, and Top Dollar, who is losing weight, because remember, he was huge. He was 400 pounds, and now he looks, I don't know, sort of like a fucking halfway deflated human water bed at this point. But Flop Dollar lurches across the ring at Ricochet like a bucket of disconnected body parts and starts kicking the shit out of him. And he was working full heel. It didn't look bad at first because he wasn't actually trying any moves. He was just mauling the smaller guy and getting all over him and he can do the trash talking. Because we mentioned Flop Dollar is convinced that he is a superstar. But within 2 minutes, Ricochet hit a kick and a small package and a flippy move and a shooting star press off the top, 1, 2, 3. So within 2 minutes, they beat I've never seen a manatee defeated that easily before. They generally put up a bigger fight. So boom. So they've switched him heel based on Flop Dollar's reaction to his botch on social media. They gave him their entrance in the break. They beat him with a guy half his size in 2 minutes. And then old Flop Dollar offers his hand to Ricochet, and they shook hands, and then all of Skid Row attacked him and beat him up until here came Brown Strongman and ran in and made the save. So Is this a way to say, well, we're gonna get 6 weeks of something out of these morons before we bid them adieu again? That's what it would sounded like back in the territory days.
I don't know.